Hello everyone and thank you for joining me. Today I finally get to show another Pen BBS fountain pen that I have owned for a while now. The Pen BBS 535 Ox Limited. I got intrigued by its shape when I have first seen it. I know a lot of people do not really like its design and the way it looks that much, but I have to admit the shape of it kind of clicks with me a lot. As such, I pulled the trigger and I bought it when it was released for around 107 Canadian dollars with free shipping from eBay. The thing that clicked a lot with me was the actually shape of it because it reminds me a lot of a desk fountain pen, and it looks pretty nice and sleek, and if we hide that clip, I don't think it looks that bad. So the fountain pen is actually pretty large. Weight and dimensions of the pen that I have are in the description below. It ends at both ends flat-ended. The cap has this nice metal finial, and on it says Pen BBS 2021 Year of the Ox. And in the center has an ox that actually seems to align with the clip. The cap also has this weird clip on it. I'll be honest, if I just look at the clip, it kind of looks nice, but overall on the pen, it kind of breaks it. I don't like it. It looks odd. Doing a shirt test takes a little bit of effort to slide it in, but it does. And I guess you can say that the clip works. However, I would still consider it useless because the size of the clip compared with the size of the pen, I don't see in what kind of pockets would you be able to clip this on. Honestly, I find it useless. If you ever been able to use this clip, let me know in the comments below. I'm curious. On the cap, we also have inscribed the Pen BBS logo, I guess. That actually aligns with the clip nicely. And on the other side, we have an ox sitting at a desk, as far as I can see, and then the number of this copy that I have. So the copy that I have, it's number 831 out of 999 copies. And another ox that is just standing. Interesting. So an ox at a desk looks like it, and an ox standing. The cap, it's a twist cap, and it's yay high. Not a lot of cap in there, which actually doesn't bother me. I kind of like. And when removed, it will reveal a nice gold rose nib that I actually like with an ox and some Chinese character inscribed on it. I have no idea what those Chinese characters mean. For whatever reason, I always think it's extra fine, but I know I'm extremely wrong in that most probably. I actually kind of like the way the threads are here. Basically, they're out of the way, and this makes for a very nice and sleek fountain pen. I really like that idea. Might be a little bit of an annoyance when inking it, but I guess using a damp towel should help removing any ink traces in there. I haven't recorded any videos inside the cap because it's very small and there are really not a lot of features in there. The only thing that you have at the end is a screw that will help you remove that clip. Which, by the way, I think I will remove that. Give me a second. There you go, much nicer and sleeker. I mean, you do have a hole in there now, but honestly, it doesn't bother me that much. I'm okay with that. And before you ask, no, I don't think that hole will dry out the nib because there is like a plastic insert in there that seems to seal before the screw. Going back to the fountain pen, like I said, number 6 nib, I like the shape of it, and usually Pen BBS does really good nibs, so this one is just as good. The section is not removable. This is actually seems to be glued in place, and I'm not gonna attempt to force it. Most probably it'll break. Really large barrel and ink capacity. As you can see, there is a rod inside, and basically this is what I would call a piston bulk filler system. Then you have a nice rose gold ring at the end, which actually matches with the nib, and I like. Then you have a couple of threads that will help you to basically post the pen. And then you have the knob for the filling system. The way this works, first of all, do note that we do have a sealing mechanism in here. So this will make a great travel fountain pen, since you can actually close down the ink and reduce your spillage if you drop it or anything like that. To write, you will have to open, and in order to let the ink get into the section. Now to fill it up, you have to pull this, well, open it all the way, pull it all the way up. Then you have to screw in, so keep on turning it until it stops. Then you push down, and then you can use it as a piston, basically. And when you're done filling, turn it the other way around until you release it, push it down, screw it all the way down, and Bob's your uncle, as they say. I really like this filling system. Unfortunately, I had an issue with it. As you will probably see, if you have your pen, you will notice that mine is slightly different. Originally, it came with two O-ring, black O-rings that unfortunately, I don't know what's wrong with Pen BBS, but they tend to use oversized O-rings in their fountain pens. And this is the second fountain pen where those O-rings for me were always getting stuck. And unfortunately, as I mentioned, there are some threads on this rod that screws up inside this piston plunger. Unfortunately, these are metal threads, and inside there are plastic threads. So the problem that I had is that when this was getting stuck and there's no visual way to figure out if that piston is turning or not, I turn it until it actually stripped some of the plastic threads inside, and that was a little bit annoying. But the idea was that it got stuck and I was trying to release it, and unfortunately it stripped some threads in there. So the other thing that I had to do, I had to open it up, remove the system, lubricate it again, put everything, or try to put everything back in together. And for whatever reason, because those O-rings were oversized, they weren't sitting in those grooves properly. And as I was trying to push the whole mechanism inside, some of the O-rings jumped from those groups. I mean, both of them kind of jumped, and as I was pushing it, it got tangled, and somehow it literally got stuck in there because the O-rings were off the grooves and everything was pressed and mashed in there. This whole mechanism was completely stuck. I believe Doug from Inquiring Minds had the same issue as I did. Fortunately for me, I was able to eventually remove the piston, and I decided to change the O-rings with other O-rings that I had in my tools of fountain pens items. And these O-rings are 0.05 millimeter thinner than the original ones, and these are working beautifully. These are the O-rings that they should have used from the get-go, at least from my perspective. In hand, the fountain pen feels actually really nice. I like its weight, I like its balance. Speaking of balance, unposted, It's pretty much just slightly above the middle. However, as you hold it, I never had any issues with it feeling top heavy. And if by any chance the length of the pen is not good enough for you, it does post, and thus you'll get a little bit more length. And the balance was posted. It not really changes that much because the cap is really light. However, do remember that I just removed the clip, and that basically makes it much lighter. This thing actually weighs a little bit, and when I was using it posted, it felt a little bit unbalanced. I didn't like it. And sometimes this was either here or in the back, which was even more annoying, to be honest, because it was pulling a little bit, or at least it was feeling like. However, after I just removed the clip, I actually like it posted, and most probably I will be using it posted most of the times. Before removing the clip, I was only using it unposted. And this is pretty much it. Fairly simple in its construction and design, which I like. Not much else to add, so let me fill it up with ink, do a writing sample, and hopefully we'll get a nice drawing with it. One thing is for sure, I doubt we'll ever run out of ink during this process. For today's ink, I decided to go back to one of the 500 milliliters ink bottles that I got from AliExpress. This one is the 081, whatever that means. However, the color that it gives, it's more of a kind of a nice green moss. An interesting color. Please remember, if you want to write with it and not get any interruptions, you have to open up this knob in order to unlock the seal lock and let the ink flow into the section. I'm going to try and write with it closed, then see if I have any issues and for how long it can go. I'm not going to go until it runs out of ink, but let's see if what I have usually planned will work just fine. So this is pen BBS 535, that's not a 5, Ox Limited fountain pen. The nib works actually really nice. Has a nice extra fine to fine line, which I like. Should be awesome for drawing. Especially its shape is really comfortable for drawing. On reverse, a little bit dry if you go too fast, but if you slow down, it can actually keep up quite nicely. And it gives you definitely an extra fine line, I would say. Okay, the nib works nicely. I mean, I have used it before, so for me it's not really a surprise. It's perfect. I love it. And you can get a little bit of line variation out of this nib and keeps up fairly nicely. However, I would not call this a flex or a semi-flex, more like a fun nib, like I usually like to call them. Nice nib, nice fountain pen. Let me dive into a sketch and see what we can get with this fountain pen. Hopefully we'll get a nice sketch, and I'll let you know my final conclusions on this fountain pen. Today I had a lot of fun with the drawing. I was inspired by a photo that I have seen either on Instagram or Twitter. Can't remember exactly, to be honest. The idea was that I really liked this curly plant that was covered in spider webs and water droplets. I know the water droplets don't really look like water droplets in my drawing, but I still kind of like the end result, to be honest. I've also added a spider in. I thought it completes the whole image a little bit better. By the way, have I ever told you how much I actually like the sink? I really like how many layers you can add on top of each other and build some depth into the sketch. Love it. As for the fountain pen, well, no surprises there. It worked like a champ without any kind of issues. The funny part is that I didn't even see the ink level drop. That thing is gonna last me for the rest of the year. So what do I like about the pen BBS 535 Ox fountain pen? There are a lot of things to like about the fountain pen, and I think Pen BBS almost created a perfect fountain pen in my opinion. It's comfortable to hold and use, it does post. I love the minimalistic look of the cap, a beautiful nib that is smooth on both sides, huge ink capacity, so it makes it a perfect travel fountain pen, especially since it does have a shut-off valve. And I guess, well, a very sleek and pretty cool design, comfortable to hold, and cool, pretty cool from my point of view, to be honest. Is there anything that I dislike about it? Well, unfortunately, there are a few things that takes down the fountain pen a little bit. One of them will be, well, the pretty much useless clip and design of it. Feels a lot like an afterthought. I think the fountain pen would have looked a lot better without a clip, as I demonstrated. Considering how long the pen is and how tiny the clip is, you really did not need it on this pen. But like I showed, fortunately it can be removed and it's much sleeker this way, in my opinion. While the clip might have not been one of the worst things on the pen, the worst part of the pen for me though was the filling system. No matter how much I like it and no matter how much it is one of my favorites, unfortunately the O-rings on my copy were way too big for the barrel, and unfortunately, like the previous pen BBS that I reviewed, the O-rings were getting stuck and I was not able to even twist it in place in order to release it from the locking mechanism. And as I mentioned, to make things even worse, the plastic threads inside the piston plunger did not help. While trying to get the piston unstuck, some of the plastic threads were sheared off by the metal threads on the rod. In the end, I managed to fix it by changing those O-rings to something thinner, but everything works perfect now without any issues. However, in the end, no matter how much I do like the fountain pen, because of the negative experience that I had with its filling mechanism, I truly cannot recommend it with a good conscience. Love it, but the fountain pen might end up being a bigger headache than it should be. And that's it for today. Enjoy the rest of the time lapse, and if you have any other questions, leave them below and I will try to get to them as soon as I can. Thank you for joining me today. Hope I'll see you next time, and I wish you all the best and a wonderful day or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.